So, yeah, it is not surprising, but it is finally official, the fact that Ben Affleck is leaving the role of Batman after having played it for 2 times and a cameo in the DC superhero film universe that they don't want us to call the DCEU, but we all do. So, yeah. Like I said, this is not surprising. It's been a rumor for a while, and he hasn't seemed like he's wanted to be there, like especially out on the press junket, but his performance in Justice League, he didn't seem especially engaged. And you know, he's got a lot going on in his I don't follow a ton of the personal life of celebrities because I don't care, but like I know that he did a voluntary stint in rehab. The guy's been going through some stuff, and I don't think too many people are going to blame him for walking away at this point. So, you know, I don't want to dwell too much on the actual decision for him to leave. And I do suspect that it was his decision because, you know, he's a talented guy, and I do think that that Warner Brothers is still trying to figure out what they're going to do, and if they ever pull off, you know, the Flashpoint movie, you know, to actually reset or otherwise sort of manually adjust this universe and who's in it and how it works, they would have liked to have had him on hand to at least sign off the role, but that's not going to happen now. So, what does this mean, and how does this sort of fit into the bigger picture of other recent Warner Brothers news? Because there's actually been a few things that have come out lately in regards to the DC properties. Well, the first is that in addition to confirming that Ben Affleck would not be playing the role anymore, the Matt Reeves directed The Batman is apparently now slotted in for 2021. Now, this is the first time we've gotten a date on this. Matt Reeves has been working on this for, I guess, about a year now, if I'm remembering my dates correctly. So this is the first time they've actually said, here's when it's coming out. Now, he also spoke recently about the project and sort of his angle on it, and he seems to want to put a lot of emphasis on the detective element of Batman. He talked about having a noir-style focus, which is not a bad idea because Batman as ninja, as badass vigilante, you know, that's kind of been done to death at this point. The Batman detective angle has really not gotten a lot of play in the movies. Batman as a detective has basically had its best showing outside of the comics in TV shows. Batman the Animated Series, he, you know, came across as a detective. Heck, Adam West Batman felt like a detective. The movie Batman, not really. It's never really been the case. They've tried like little nods here and there, but ultimately, you know, he's just there to beat somebody up more often than not. And sometimes that works fine, but it is a pretty good way to go at it from a new angle. And given what Ben Affleck's Batman had been up to this point, it's probably going to go smoother with a new take on a new actor playing Bruce Wayne who isn't going to have the baggage of, you know, beating the crap out of Superman in power armor. You know, while you can go on all you want about the Batman v Superman themes being dark and edgy, that was not a noir film. I'm not entirely sure what it was, but going for noir, going for genuine noir is going to be something a little bit different. It'll be dark, which Batman is at its best, usually, and you know, but it'll be a slightly different sort of way to come at it, which I think is a good thing, and I think that'll be a cleaner transition without Ben Affleck. I mean, I just feel that's the reality of it. As far as some other stuff that's been announced, it looks like I really do worry about Warner Brothers because they seem to be getting better. Like Wonder Woman was pretty good. Aquaman was decent. wasn't awful. And actually, I didn't even hate Justice League that much. They seem to be correcting pretty well, but I do still worry because we got our first glimpses of like footage from Birds of Prey, and it was like literal fractions of a second shots of like a half dozen characters and a heck of a lot of lingering on Harley Quinn. Now, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn was the highlight of Suicide Squad. One of only a few things that really kind of worked about that film. But I've seen this Harley Quinn. I want to see the other characters who are in this. And the rumor now is, I don't believe this is confirmed at this point, that Warner Brothers wants Birds of Prey to be the launching point for a trilogy, which immediately makes me nervous because getting preoccupied with all the films they'll get to make after the one they're currently making is such a huge part of why things went just imploded previously. So that rumor, unconfirmed at this point, does make me nervous, and it does, and like the little bits of marketing that we got and sort of the way that it's coming at things, that makes me nervous. The other thing that like makes me kind of go like, oh, but then I get a little bit more of the details. I'm like, oh. So now there is word that Warner Brothers is considering doing a Batman Beyond film. Cool. Animated. Cool. And the only reason they're considering doing this is basically in response to Sony's Into the Spider-Verse. That doesn't render the project meaningless or without merit or mean that it won't be good, but the fact that Warner Brothers just seems to be scrambling about, running around like a chicken with its head cut off, trying to latch on to anything that might work. This just adds to that feeling, and it's a feeling that I was starting to see them shake off, and now I really do worry that they're gonna dive back into it. It's, it's a case of they were moving forward with these films, and Batman v Superman was not what they wanted it to be. Justice League really wasn't what they wanted it to be. So they kind of go, okay, slow down. Let's take it easy. Let's try and, get some things sorted out. Let's get better. And then Aquaman comes out, and again, pretty decent movie, and becomes their biggest hit so far. And I worry that they then kind of relax and go, oh, we've got a hit now. Great, let's get back with all the plans that we were doing that we put on hold. Like, well, no, you had to keep putting those on hold because they need more foundation than just Aquaman and Wonder Woman. So, like, I cannot help but be nervous basically by anything that is handled by Warner Brothers. Their entire approach to IP management just really frustrates me. And this impacts Harry Potter as well, which I'm planning on doing another video in a week or two talking about why I think that franchise, at least in film, is pretty much screwed. So, I remember, what was it, 3-4 years ago, where Warner Brothers basically announced that they were going to stop making mid-tier budget movies, and they were only going to, not distribute, but like actually actively produce on the lot, devote their direct time and money and efforts into DC movies, Harry Potter movies, and Lego movies. And yeah, I know why, because those kinds of franchises where the big money's been lately, but they put a lot of eggs in only a few baskets. And I think one of those baskets might be recovering, the other one I'm not sure can. But now I'm starting to get into stuff that I'll probably touch on when I talk about the Harry Potter stuff. So, yeah. This is kind of a mixed news cycle in regards to the DC movies. Ben Affleck out, in my mind, kind of neutral. I would have liked to see him play Batman in a better movie. I'm not going to get to. That's a bit of a mummer. But like I said, I think if Matt Reeves is taking the whole thing in a new direction, probably better to get a new Batman. Batman Beyond, cool. In the interest of chasing a trend, makes me nervous. You know, Birds of Prey is coming out, cool. First teaser is all Harley Quinn, and they're talking about it being first in a trilogy. That approach makes me nervous. You know, I don't trust Warner Brothers. I just don't. And, you know, there's a reason that I cite Warner Brothers when I talk about these DC movies, but I rarely cite Disney when I talk about the Marvel movies, which is that the Disney level executives rarely get directly involved in the Marvel movie making machine. They leave that division alone to do its own thing. Whereas Warner Brothers, their top level executives are notorious for getting very involved and micromanaging on all the projects. They don't let these directors and these producers just make it. They always have notes. So that's why I can't talk about the DC stuff without talking about Warner Brothers as a whole. Whereas with Marvel, I can talk about Marvel without necessarily having to talk about Disney. It's just that they don't know when to just let the good thing be the good thing. It's like, oh, it's the good thing, great, how can we milk this? That's just what they are now. So, yeah. Mixed Batman DC movie news. What do you think about any of this stuff that I've just rambled about? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. A whole bunch of stuff that you can do because there's buttons, there's links, there's a link to my Patreon. I recently restructured the rewards. It's now easier to get your name in the ending credits, which will be coming up in a little bit. Maybe check that out if you feel like it. There's other links to look at if you don't want to look at that. But you know what? If you don't want to look at any of it, that is okay, because at the end of the day, folks, you're the council. I just run these meetings, and until next time, this council is adjourned.